those were the early days, and we used to practice. John and I used to practice our dancing in front of. We actually used to have a light behind us like this, so you could watch on the wall in front to see what you were doing. Do you remember that? And then we moved on and we carried on dressing up, and this time it was knickerbockers, frilly shirts, makeup, and red hair. So, quite something. Now, it was also this time, you'll notice John's very into certain types of music, and tunes of Chic and Sister Sledge were around at the time, and John is still convinced, and you will see this later on, that Sister Sledge's famous first ever song, which was, you're all too young, aren't you? You just don't remember it. I wonder why he's the greatest dancer.
Oh, okay.
You will see this later on. Now, anyway, so these were the early parts of Baston Pit 61, and John then moved to Cambridge and I stayed in Oxford, so I sort of missed out on sort of the middle years, and I'm sure there's a few people around here who might have some stories about this sort of thing.
I might be able to help you out here.
Thank you.
Right, well, we'll continue with Chris's theme here, and I've always been told that a good quality wine will mature with age. So I think if we're going to start comparing John with a wine, perhaps we'd be thinking of him as something like a really cheap Van der Pade or something. Because over the 25 years that I've known John, he's shown no signs of maturing whatsoever. He's still the same sort of mad, happy-go-lucky, embarrassing at times sort of character that he's always been, really, and I hope you continue to be like that, John. John and I have worked together, well, known each other and worked together for 25 years now, so almost as long as you, Chris. We've been through lots of different stages of our careers together. We've sat in a pub and had a few beers after a game of squash at times and decided that we'd give it all in and form our own business, which we did. We jacked our jobs in and started up a business with two other people. We then grew that business for 10 years and then sold it on. So we've had some fairly momentous shared experiences through that time, really. And through those 25 years, John has been a very good friend of Joe and I. He's been a very good business partner as well. And I think most of the time we agreed on a lot of things and saw things the same way. So I'd like to thank you for that, John. Now, like Chris, obviously, if you know somebody for that length of time, you're going to have a few stories, especially if it's John. There's a few things that spring to mind, but one particular story from our working career comes from quite early on, really, probably late 80s sometime. I hadn't really known John that long. We were working together on the M54, I think it was, up in Shropshire, near Telford. Yeah, surveying the motorway there, going back to the hotel at night, having a few beers in town, going back to the hotel, going to bed. About 3 o'clock in the morning, one of these mornings, I was woken up by a knock on the door. So, bearing in mind that at this time John was actually technically my boss, so I had to respect him, really, and he's got a respectable character. I opened the door to be faced with John standing in the corridor wearing nothing except a pair of very, very skimpy knickers.
Were those the same as well as probably the same?
Well, I didn't realise that then, but they may well have been, yeah. Saying, Mark, can I borrow some trousers so I can go down to reception and get my key? I've locked myself out. So I took great pleasure in telling everybody in the office about this when I got back, which backfired slightly because the next week I went to finish the job with somebody else and did exactly the same thing. So we've got quite a lot in common, really. Can we carry on, or have you had enough now?
We've had enough.
Oh, no.
Thank you very much, Mark. So, and then finally to the drinking stage, the later years, and there was a concern that the finish on Baston Pit 61 was going to be very short and quick, resulting in a disappointment. But the introduction of Alfie to this world soon put paid to that. In my opinion, BP 61, as I'm calling it here, has turned out exceptionally well. I think it's aging very well. I think it's very strong. I do actually think it's very mature, and it's now really consumed. But Beatrice, I do want to point out that he's likely to become more rounded and fuller bodied the longer you leave him. And so in answer to the original question posed by Pope John the 23rd, I can say that Beatrice, in my opinion, I think you've chosen exceptionally well. Now, before I go, I'd like to finish with a few short words about love and marriage. Firstly, love. I've heard it said that love is that feeling you get in your stomach when you see a girl across a crowded room and you think, one day, I'm going to make you the unhappiest woman alive. But that's not going to be the case here, I'm sure. And the key to a successful marriage? Well, I've got some experience here, because believe it or not, I've actually been married for 19 years. And the secret of our success? 2 times a week, we take time to go to a nice restaurant, candlelit dinner, little wine, soft music. And Susan goes on Tuesdays and I go on Thursdays. And if all else fails, John, the 3 magic words always work wonders. Beatrice, you're right. Thank you. Just before we toast the bride and groom, I've got a few telegrams here from some people. From John's mum Anne, who says, "Sorry I can't be with you both, but love to you both, and all the best for the future. I hope you have a wonderful day." From your mother. From Will, who's John's brother, sorry I can't be with you on your special day. I hope your journey together through life will be long and fulfilling, with love and happiness to you both and to all those present here today. P.S. Chris, don't forget to mention that you and I are like your hairline. We go back a long way. I've got some other ones here as well from Roseanne and Paul, which I'll pass on to you. And from Arno, from your colleague at Fugro. And then I just want to pass one on to you, which is from my wife, which says, "With love and best wishes to you both." From Susan, "I wish you all the luck and happiness in the world, and I'm sorry that I can't be there with you today. Please send mounted photograph. If not possible, one holding hands will do."